Hi guys, a few things on the agenda for today. First, I'm going to answer some of the questions you asked in this discussion board from last week. Then I'm going to move on to writing the first parts of a position paper, the introduction, which you're already super familiar with, but also the narration and partition, which are probably going to be new to you. Finally, I'm going to talk a bit about the beginning of that sample paper that you read for Wednesday's class on research for autism, and we'll look at those various parts in that paper and see how the author, Meredith Powers, was doing that. So first, I went through the discussion board and took note of some questions that kept coming up. A lot of you asked about how to get a paper to 8 to 10 pages, which is completely understandable since this is your longest assignment this semester. I have a couple of suggestions for this one. The first one being start early. So your first draft is due on April 29th, which seems really far away now, but it's always a good idea to give yourself plenty of time. I would recommend getting your research together now and starting to think about how you're going to organize your paper. On that same note, I would recommend also outlining your paper beforehand using the parts of a full argument. So you can divide an outline into the introduction, narration, partition, confirmation, refutation, and conclusion, and then fill in bullet points that you want to include in each section. That will give you a sort of framework and make the task a lot more manageable as you go from part to part. A quick note here, these 8 to 10 pages have to be new, meaning you can't simply copy and paste text from previous assignments. That's self-plagiarism, it can get you in major trouble. So if you're using information that you've used before, you need to be careful and rephrase it. Okay, so thinking about summary and paraphrase there. There are also some questions about sources. So the instructions ask you to incorporate 12 sources, about half of which should be scholarly. These can be sources from previous assignments, so you can go back and use your sources from the digital forum, from your annotated bibliography, and your inquiry presentation, okay? You don't necessarily have to go out and find a whole bunch of new sources, but if you are reusing sources, you need to make sure that it's actually because they serve your argument and you're not just doing it so that you don't have to do additional work. Okay, so making sure that the sources you choose really are helping out with the argument that you're trying to make. Generally, scholarly sources are coming from peer-reviewed documents from the library databases. So we've talked about this before. If you're using popular sources, you need to check that they're credible. That means newspaper or magazine articles, websites from the government or other well-known organizations, but not things like Wikipedia or anonymous blogs. You're going to want to stay away from sources where you can't tell the credibility of an author. Okay. A few students asked about the new claim part of the instructions. So the goal of the position paper is to provide a proposal or a solution to a problem you've identified within your topic. This will involve phrasing your research question in a way that targets the later levels of stasis, action, which is what should be done about an issue, and then jurisdiction, which is who is responsible for taking action. Okay. To prove the efficacy of your proposal or your solution, you'll make a series of points incorporating information from your sources. So every claim you make that adds up to that thesis statement is going to be backed up by sources. You're welcome to use perspectives from your digital forum as either confirmation or refutation, so long as they serve your thesis. But whereas with the digital forum, that was an objective look at 3 perspectives on your topic, and this is an argument. So you're stating a claim and then making a case for it, okay? That covers the repeated questions that I saw, and of course, if more come up or you want help specifically with your paper topic, you can always shoot me an email, or we could set up a time to talk over Google Hangouts or Zoom, whatever would be most helpful for you, okay? In the next part of the video, I want to take a closer look at the first few parts of an argument, the introduction, the narration, and the partition. So as we've said, we've spent a good deal of time on introductions with previous assignments. Remember, a good one briefly explains your topic, argues for its exigence, and poses your thesis statement. So I'm going to pull up the sample paper here from Meredith Powers. The first thing that you'll notice is that she includes an audience analysis here. You do not need to worry about this. This is from a previous semester where English 101 required students to do this for position papers. That's not the case for this semester. So ignore this audience analysis. You're just looking at the body of the paper here. So the first paragraph is her introduction, and you'll see that she defines autism here, which is the subject matter of her paper, and then she brings in some facts and statistics that show an increase in autism diagnoses and really explain how this is a rising issue, right? You need to argue for the exigence, and she does using these statistics. Then finally, at the end of this introduction, she has an explicit thesis statement. So she says, increased funding for autism research and the expansion of associate autism awareness campaigns must occur in order to heighten the public's knowledge of autism and address other urgent autism quandaries. So this is a really specific, arguable thesis statement that she's going to set out to prove in the rest of the essay. The narration is probably something that you're not used to. You probably haven't written narration in previous papers, at least like dedicated paragraphs that handle this material. So this section of the paper provides any background information that your audience is going to need in order to understand your argument. So that's things like key terms, important facts or statistics, a history of your topic, etc. In the sample paper, you'll see that the narration is divided over 2 paragraphs. So this one here and this paragraph here. Okay. In this first paragraph, Powers gives the history of autism, starting with Leo Kanner. And she also describes some of the predominant symptoms of autism. Then in the second paragraph, she talks about the controversy surrounding the cause of it. So she describes how originally it was thought to result from cold parenting, but then researchers later disproved that. That brings her to her partition, where she establishes a need for further research to understand it, and then also explains the promise of biomedicine. So this is again done over 2 paragraphs, this one here and this one here, before she starts getting into her main argument. Okay, you can see that she expands on her thesis so that it's in paragraph form and provides a roadmap for the points that she's going to make in order to prove her argument. So it's sort of phrased, I'll do this, then I'll do this, then I'll do this. However you set up your partition, that's the order that you're going to follow in your essay. So she lays out the points in order that she's going to make throughout the rest of the paper. For today's activity, I'd like you to brainstorm how you're going to write the start of the paper, so these 3 sections. You've already written a preliminary thesis, and so you should decide how you're going to make a case for the exigence of your topic in the introduction. So maybe you're going to use a personal anecdote, or you have a recent news item that points to the importance of discussing this topic. Or maybe, like Powers, you have some really powerful statistics to bring in to show how many people your issue affects. Okay, so you should think about that. You should also think about what information you foresee putting in your narration. So what background is necessary for your readers to have in order to dive into your argument? Well, you don't have to go out and find your sources and begin your paper right now. I'm essentially asking you to make a plan for these first 3 sections of your paper. This will take you around 250 words, and you'll post it to a discussion board. Okay, you can find it either through the main page in the module or go to the discussions tab. It's right here. You'll post your 250 word answer by midnight, and hopefully this will be a good start for you as you're thinking about your paper and as you're thinking about how you're going to organize it, because it is a longer project. Okay, so organization is especially important here. Again, let me know if you have any questions. Good luck, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.